Have you ever felt overwhelmed, uncomfortable, or had a change in mood and you don't know where to turn or what to do next? Aurora Counseling Services is here to help us deal with our emotions and take care of our mental health. Well, look, mental health is a key part of your overall well-being. When your mental health is good, you're better able to cope with stress, manage emotions, live a happy and fulfilling life. We're here to help us talk about this today is Noelle Avitable and Cheryl Ferris of Aurora Counseling. Thank you so much, ladies, for being a part of the show today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Sure. Look, tell me a little bit about this. Therapy for mental health is one of those things that, some people think is a sign of weakness. But it isn't a sign of weakness. Reaching out to get therapy is really a sign of strength, right?
Yes, absolutely. We experience this every day where somebody feels, I don't need this. I'm not sure if this is the right place. My mom told me to come. My husband said I need to be here. My wife is forcing me to go. And sometimes people, when they finally get there, they realize, wow, I really do have a lot of things in my life that are bothering me and have bothered me for so long. And I just thought this was a normal way to live.
Well, people need to understand that it's normal. Human beings, one thing that cracks me up a little bit about some of the way we approach mental health is we don't think that people are human. Human beings were meant to be depressed. They're meant to be happy. Right. They're meant to be excited. Those are emotions that we were God-given. Now, when those emotions start to kind of go out of balance, right? When something happens and it's day 5 and you're still really somber about it, now we're starting to get into an area that you have to start thinking that there's something maybe a little off, right?
Right. Some people come for services because something big and traumatic has happened in their life. So it's something they can pinpoint, a death, an incident that they had gone through, an accident. And when something like that happens, they automatically say, okay, I'm struggling, something's wrong with me, I feel upset about that incident. But in other times, their behavior starts to change around the people that they love, and the people that they love start to say, something's going on with you, I don't like the way that you're acting, or they're losing their job, or they're not themselves, they're not able to sleep. So now they're realizing maybe it's something more than that. What do I do next? So that's where we come in, to try to help somebody on what to do next and how we can help them.
Even to today, when we know that we have the issues that we're having when it comes to things like PTSD, people who are involved in COVID, whether it be first responders, doctors, even some patients. I've seen some literature that says that, somewhere around 17 and 19% of the people who spent more than 2 days in the hospital for COVID are suffering from PTSD now. That's not one of those things that we have to start thinking as a negative. It's nature, right?
Sure, absolutely. COVID brought out a lot in a lot of people. It was a dynamic situation unlike anything else. So when this started to affect people, they didn't know what to expect. They didn't know that this was going to be as long as it was. It was whether or not they were sick or they were isolated the entire time, that they had no one to speak to, they had no one to come to, they were alone. They started to have these feelings of loneliness that maybe they never had before. They weren't seeing family. They had nothing to look forward to. And that's something in life that's so important. What are you looking forward to? So it brought out this ability for people to come for help because of such a difficult time in our lives.
And people need to understand that the talk therapy that you provide at Aurora Counseling Services is just as important as any form of medication. I mean, if I, did something today and hurt my leg, doctors will probably prescribe medication to help me, especially if a big laceration or a cut or something like that. We don't frown at medication. Why do we frown at talk therapy that is medication, right?
Yes, of course. Some people, it depends on their socioeconomic status, culturally, they feel that I don't want to go to therapy, I'm not crazy, my parents tell me this is ridiculous, I'm going to get over it. It's going to get better in a couple of days, but it doesn't sometimes for people. It doesn't get better. So when you have something like a broken leg, you can define that. You could say, my leg is broken. But when your emotions are there, it's not something you could pinpoint and say, oh, I don't really feel so good today. This has been going on for a while. And it's hard to admit that to people and say, I'm struggling right now. You don't want to be vulnerable.
What are some of the ways that you help people, get over their resistance to asking for help and seeking counseling?
One of the greatest things that we do is, first, we never say no to a person on the phone.
Ever.
If a person doesn't have the right insurance, which is something that we've made sure we can do, is be paneled on the most insurances that New York allowed us to be paneled on, so that we don't have to say to a client, I'm really sorry, we can't have you here. We try to accommodate as many people as we can. It's hiring more staff, making sure that they're trained properly, making sure they know what to do. And we want people to feel as comfortable as possible while they're going through this process. And to feel comfortable, we try to normalize this as much as we can with people. So instead of going right into it and talking about what's making you sad or upset, we use words more like, what's going on with you? How are you feeling? What was the last time you went out? How did the Yankees do in their game? To sort of normalize, and another reason too is why we wear scrubs at work, so that people have this feeling of comfort with us, so that they don't think, oh, this is not for me. These people think they're better than me, or they don't understand what I'm going through. We try to start at their place, where they're at.
And you've done a lot of work, right, Cheryl, with 9/11 first responders, people like that. What have you learned from that?
With first responders, it's more of a toughness. They don't want to express that they're actually feeling depressed or severe PTSD, because that's their job. This is what I signed up for. This is what was expected of me.
You know what was crazy? I was in Manhattan. I was in New York, as a matter of fact, doing a live radio show from CBS Television City on 57th Street. You know where that is. And literally I was inside of a little booth watching the planes come in and watch this live. And at first, everybody thought this was some sort of an accident or something like that. And then I realized when the second plane hit, this was deliberate. And my crew and I, we rushed down to the site that wouldn't let us in, went down the second day. And I gotta tell you, I didn't get to interact with any of the people on the first couple of days, but I was so depressed when I went home. Just the thought of thousands of people dying. And I never dealt with it. I should have dealt with it, because look at this right now, right?
It's a difficult thing to even get them to speak. So I have a personal connection to it because my husband himself is FDNY.
Thank you for his service. And yours, but go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yes. I always say to myself, I'm glad that he was lucky enough not to have lost his life. However, was he lucky enough to actually suffer through having survivor's guilt, right? Because a lot of them, that's what they're suffering from, survivor's guilt, that they were there and they didn't lose their life, or they were there and they didn't do enough to save the lives of the others.
When they couldn't have done any more. But yes, go ahead.
When we get someone that's like willing to speak about it, we like myself personally, I'm like, okay, we're going to get this person in and we're going to get them the help they need, because it's hard for them to actually ask for the help. But now, all these years later, they're realizing they're having trauma, nightmares, visions of what had happened. So my mom has been a social worker for 30 years. So my mom is one of the senior therapists that works for us that handles these cases, because a lot of the gentlemen are older. And so her being of similar age, she connects with them.
Yes.
And her having her own trauma and her own life experiences,
right,
she can relate to that.
And what are some of the tools that you give them to help them cope?
First thing we do, like Noelle had said earlier, is we try and identify with them on a personal level, to kind of break down that wall, to let them know that we're human like they are. I obviously always open up with that we do understand. I personally understand. I lived it. I'm married to it. Not only is my husband a first responder that way, but he also was activated into the military and went over and, served his country because of 9/11. So that's kind of the way me personally work with them, like trying to just kind of get to the comfortability to open them up.
And you have a really big team at Aurora Counseling in New York, right? We went and paid a little visit to your offices, and well, let's take a look at this. Take a look at this.
I've been at Aurora for 3 years, but I've been in practice for 30 years, working in mental health facilities of all different calibers. 9/11 individuals that I work with really have experienced tremendous trauma. These individuals have lived over 20 years with this trauma, and then all of a sudden they can't sleep. They have nightmares. They're angry. They have all these different feelings that they cannot articulate no matter what. 20 years later, these individuals are coming in seeking for help. Because what is happening is they're discovering that they have this unmentionable anxiety and depression. And it's like, where is this coming from? And then also a lot of these individuals are suffering also because a lot of their coworkers, family members are dying right in front of their eyes due to the aftermath of 9/11. The therapy is essential for these individuals who experienced 9/11, essential. I cannot express that enough. When they come into my home, which is my office, they feel that they're in my home. I make every client, male, female, old, young, whatever, feel welcome and wanted. And I always start with open-ended questions, so that gives them that opportunity to relax and be able to answer. I feel that I'm creating a very safe haven.
What's happening and what we've been noticing here is that we started off with one 9/11 responder who then realized, wow, this is a great thing, and they like their therapist, so then they brought another buddy, and so on and so forth. So we take pride in that. We do. We take pride in that, and we advertise for it because we want to be there to help them. New York is notorious for having long waiting lists. We have been told by many of our clients that they have been told that it's up to a year for a therapist to contact them back. So we want it to be different. And so how we address the difference is we have a large staff on hand. We have extended hours. We're open 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. We offer weekend hours. We offer virtual visits. We also accept some insurances that are very hard to get paneled with. One being GHI, Emblem Health. We opted to go into that insurance knowing that there were a lot of people in need for that particular insurance.
I find that one of the biggest misconceptions around mental health is the fact that people think going to therapy equates to pathology, and that's simply not the truth. Clients will often approach me, starting with the first session, saying something along the lines of, I'm not crazy, or I don't know why I'm here, or I don't know what therapy is going to do for me. When in reality, we don't need to figure that out from the first day. People assume that the purpose of therapy is to put labels on things, and that's really not necessary. When we are treating issues, we are treating the individual for what their unique needs are. I personally believe that in Western culture, we've come a very long way in accepting mental health and the issues that come along with it. However, those stigmas do still exist. And in order to challenge those stigmas, I think what's really important is having open conversations about those stigmas and how clients feel those stigmas impact them. The most prominent issues that I've seen as a result of the isolation that we all suffered through during the quarantine has been within social skills as well as depression and anxiety. I noticed this very prominently among our youth who are now suffering in regards to their social communication skills and even their desire to connect with peers. Some of the greatest issues to come from quarantine isolation have been depression, anxiety, and social skills. I feel that one of the most important approaches is to develop a practice for mindfulness. The purpose of mindfulness is to bring an individual to the present moment, to the here and now. It brings one farther away from whatever is making them anxious about the future or whatever they're depressed about happening to them in the past. One of my favorite mindfulness techniques is called the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. The basis of this technique is to ground an individual into the present moment by allowing them to focus on everything that they're experiencing with their 5 senses. So the way one might practice this is naming 5 things they can see, 4 things they can touch, 3 things they can hear, 2 things they can smell, and 1 thing that they can taste. It might sound silly, but it really works. What I would encourage every person who is considering treatment to consider is to go into therapy with the most open mind you can possibly have. Because once you have expectations, you're going to be disappointed. You don't know what you need. I don't know what you need based on the first session. So if we're both open with one another in our communication and we can both work together as a team to figure out what those needs are, we're going to get somewhere and we're going to do great work together.
With any of the children clients that I have, I like to tell them that what happens to them is not a reflection of them, but of someone else's issues that they may be struggling with. So if a parent is struggling with mental illness or has trauma, they tend to project that onto their child, which can impact their behavior. So I always try to empower the kids and tell them that how someone treats them is not a reflection of them, but what something else is dealing with. This way they know it's not their fault. In my sessions, I like to use CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, and I also like to use a strengths-based approach because I think on the CBT end, it helps people kind of reframe and reshape their thoughts. And I think that I always tell my clients that it's all about perspective. So the way you look at something can change how you feel about a situation. So if you reshape and rechange your thoughts, then you can feel better about a situation. And then strengths-based I like to use because I think it empowers clients to see that whatever's in them, the positive traits that they have, they can use that to help them feel better and cure their anxiety, depression, or anything they're dealing with. One of my biggest goals with my clients is to always let them know that they have my support. So I always like to end my sessions by telling them I'm here if they need me, and that while I don't think they'll need me because I know they can handle it, I'm always there through text or call to help them with whatever they need. That goes with me outreaching them, sometimes outreaching a parent or a friend if they tell me that's okay, to let them know that I'm there and I'm, checking in on them. But I always let them know that I will always be there to help and answer them when they need.
When my son and I started here, I wanted to improve our communication and make sure that he was doing the right thing. We definitely had to devise a plan, and Noelle, and Cheryl definitely, came up with different reward systems to help him on that journey. I would recommend going to Aurora because you're able to come to a place where people welcome you. They greet you at the door with a smile. They talk with you. They listen to you. They give you outstanding points, but you have to be open and honest so that they can give you the feedback. And then you have to accept that and take it and do what you need to do to change things for yourself so that you can be happy. And it's not that we weren't happy before, but it's a better happiness and everything is calm. You understand? Devon is an awesome child. Absolutely love him. And he went to prom and he was absolutely gorgeous. He's now on the football team in high school, his first year of high school. And I'm expecting great things. Noelle, Cheryl, this whole practice, they definitely love him and we love it here. Aurora has changed my life because they've really helped me with my son as far as, getting us back on the right track. And now I don't have to worry about him becoming a statistic as far as where he was going before.
Wonderful. Wow, it's really, really, really powerful stuff. Look, if you could, let's say, tell people out there who are suffering just one gem, one thing, what would it be?
We feel that the most important thing that people should know is that they're not alone. If they're experiencing this, there is help out there. There's someone that can support them. We try our best not to use words like mental health, like therapy, like those words that sometimes people shy away from. They feel, I don't need that kind of stuff. I'm not going to tell people I'm going to therapy. We switch those words out with support. We say, well, we want to just support you. We want to help you through this phase in your life. And those phases become other phases, and we start to unlock what's happening in that person's life and why they are the way that they are, because we're all made the way we are because of everything that we've been through. So those experiences help us to understand how we could get you the next place.
And help make them understand that there's no shame in this game, correct?
No shame in this game, and you're braver than you think by coming for help. And we've seen so many times where people said, I don't need this, I'm mandated to come here, I don't want to come, you're never going to be able to help me, what do you know? And those are the people, oddly enough, that are the ones that stick with us the longest.
That's great.
Yeah.
Come on, there's got to be some really good final thoughts to make that person out there right now, or let's say the caregiver for somebody out there right now, understand that maybe they need to pick up the phone and make a call. What would be that thing that you say?
The most important thing is yourself, how you feel about yourself and what you want in your life. You're worth so much, and we want to be able to show you how much you're worth, and you deserve to be happy. And maybe the things that you're experiencing right now, they're not normal for you, and we want you to be able to experience your life and look forward to what's next and deal with what has already happened. And we want to open our doors and our hearts and everything that we've learned in our experience at Aurora and in life to be able to make anyone around us feel that it's okay.
So now I know our viewers are loving this, so if they wanted to get more information, where would they go?
AuroraCounselingNY.com.
And of course, you can always go to our website, thebalancingact.com. Thanks so much for being a part of the show today. We'll see you next time. Thank you, ladies, for
Thank you
sure.
for having us.
Thank you for having
Absolutely.
us.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks so much for joining us on this local edition of The Balancing Act. We'll see you next time.